All righty, it's 5:05. We can get this show on the road. Again, welcome to all the parents who are joining us tonight for our February PPN meeting. We're looking so glad to have you today. Thank you for all the staff who's also joining in support to get a chance to network and engage with our parents who are so very important to us. Of course, we have our typical dynamic principals, Mr. Anderson, Dr. Rencher, and filling in for Mr. Ericson is the one and only Miss Carla Seal, who's going to be standing in the gap for Mr. Ericson tonight. And there was a special presentation by Mr. Keith Young of Ecotech, a long-lasting science cohort he's got going on down in the city of Detroit. A lot of you guys may know him as parents. Like your students or children that may have went to his program in the city of Detroit. He's gonna share with us some good information for parents to be able to know about the world of STEM and the opportunities students have to have available for his workshop and his lab. Again, parents, if you're just not joining, please make sure you put your child's name and grade in the chat. We want to make sure we give them credit, that science credit for having you join tonight, and as well as if you have any questions for either the principals or Mr. Young at the end, please put it in the chat or the Q&A section. We'll make sure we go back and address your questions or comments or concerns. Anything you may want to ask in general about the school, what's going on with the Wi-Fi, the freezing cold days. We're here to answer all your questions at one-stop shop. That's why we're so glad to have you. Vital information is going forward today that you can take advantage of and spread along to those who are not here, but invite them to come next month. At this point in time, we want no further ado. Mr. Anderson, elementary principal, will go ahead and get us started.
Good evening, parents. Thank you, Mr. Williams. For the elementary, just a few updates. First, if you have not, parents that have not came up to the school to pick up the resources, the books and workbooks for the second semester, please do so. We had many of our parents pick up resources. So on Monday, if you have not came up to the school previously on Monday, please contact the main office. We can arrange a time for you to come up and get those resources. The second update that I have is on this incoming Monday as well. We have our parenting and family engagement committee meeting. So a survey was sent out and we have some parents that signed up and said they want to participate. And the purpose of this this collaboration is for us to strengthen our engagement in regards to parents, just in total support of our students. So that meeting again is Monday. It's going to be at 5:15. At the end, I can put that information in the chat just so you can have it. But I believe Ms. Blake is on, and I think she did sign up to be part of that committee. So thank you, Ms. Blake. If there's any other elementary parents that are interested, I'll put that information in the chat. That is all for the elementary. Thank you, parents, for attending.
Thanks, Mr. Anderson, for the elementary update. Again, parents, if you have any questions for Mr. Anderson, just put that inside the chat or in the Q&A session, and we'll make sure at the end, after our presentation, we'll make sure we'll come back to and address your questions, comments, or concerns. At this point in time, we're going to have Dr. Rencher come on from middle school.
Well, good evening, everyone. So my name is Charles Rencher. I'm representing the middle school, and I'd like to just share one major update with you for our second semester. It's been said that students are going to have at least 5 years to which they'll need to recover from the first semester learning loss and the learning loss from last year as well because of this pandemic. So what we've done at the middle school is put in place somewhat of a grade recovery program. It's basically a program to support students who may not have gotten the typical learning that they would have gotten in a regular school year. So we actually augmented their schedule so that they'll have time throughout the day to increase their knowledge in math, science, ELA, social studies, just to make sure they're prepared for the next school year. So we're thinking proactively and making sure that the students get whatever they need to be successful at the next level. One other thing, I'm glad that we have Mr. Young here today. I've worked with him before at various schools, and I've seen his program at work, and I had some of his students as one of my students. And I've seen their progress on LinkedIn, actually. They're doing big things in terms of biofuel and alternative technology or alternative energy and things like that. So I'm glad he's here with us today. And as always, feel free to contact me or the other administrators at the middle school if you have any questions.
Thanks so much, Doc. Appreciate the update and info. And at this time, Ms. Seal, the assistant principal of the high school, you're up next.
Hello, everyone. First, I would like to congratulate our own Mr. Ericson on his new baby. So that's why he couldn't be here today, but he sends his well wishes.
Yay!
Congratulations to the Ericsons. At the high school, a few things. First of all, we started our new semester, and as the other principals have stated, we do have some textbooks and things that some of the students need to pick up, specifically our 11th graders. So there will be a robocall and an email to go out, as we will need to make up that day that they were supposed to come yesterday. So we'll be making that day up so that they can come for their makeup day of textbook pickup and distribution for our 11th graders. So be on the lookout for that. Next, I would like to congratulate also our students who are a part of our DECA program, which is a program for our students who kind of looking to go into business and entrepreneurship. We had about 10 students who participated in the most recent regional DECA competition, and we had about 5 of them based on projects and things that they really worked on to make it to the state level. So congratulations to those students, and then we'll be letting you all, keeping you informed as they move on to the next level at the state competition. It's going to be virtual this year. They normally go downtown, but due to all that's going on, they will have their virtual competition in a few weeks. So when we get the details, we'll definitely share it with our parents. And then we also have our virtual Black History program I want you to be on the lookout for. We are in the works of getting that recorded right now. So we will be sharing a virtual presentation of our Black History program, and we would really, really appreciate it as parents and various people of the community that you will be able to watch it. We're going to upload it on YouTube and Facebook, so be on the lookout for that coming up soon. Our students have been working hard. They definitely, we're going to have dance, singing, and band, so be on the lookout for that. And lastly is our SAT boot camp. As Dr. Rencher spoke of, we know we've had some loss of some instruction during this pandemic, but we want to still ensure that our students are as prepared as possible. So we're going to continue our SAT boot camp that we normally have for our 11th graders who are getting ready to take the SAT test that will be coming up. So those dates have been sent out via email to our students, and will also be sent out to our parents so that you can have them. It's coming up. It's going to be basically the next couple of Saturdays. It's going to be virtual again, but we have very limited spots for anyone who needs to come in seat. And you can contact Miss Hunt. So you can call the school or email Miss Hunt regarding SAT bootcamp. I'll put her email in the chat so that you can see that. And then also our students were a part of a NASA project that I know y'all gonna see in a few minutes, but I'm super excited for our scholars who worked really hard on their project with NASA. So definitely, if you didn't catch it on the news, hopefully we'll be able to see it tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Seals. So excited for you. You're so excited to be here. Not to put Dr. Rencher and Mr. Anderson on the spot, has there been any talk about an M-STEP boot camp for the elementary and middle school? I know we've done it in the past. I don't know if we feel we can do it this year. Just want to throw it out there if you guys have already talked about it, thought about it. So I am kind of putting you on the spot. But I know some parents are interested in some type of boot camp that we've done for years in the past. Is that an opportunity this year, maybe?
Yes. So we're in the works of, after school tutoring is in the works. We're going to start that pretty soon. The Saturday boot camp or Saturday tutoring, Saturday school is going to start after we begin the after school tutoring. So the boot camp will begin. We don't have an official start date yet, but we will provide that as an opportunity for our students.
Thanks, Doc.
Yeah,
sorry,
for our M-STEP, our third through fifth graders, we are brainstorming some opportunities to try to support their learning and getting them prepared for the assessment as well. More information will be forthcoming.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry about that, fellas. Thank you. Parents do want to give a shout out to the middle school counseling team. I see they're all here and present today. They are on the call, so I want to give them a shout out. Thank you guys for joining tonight. And if you have any questions for any of them, just put that in the chat. That's Ms. Sparkman, Mr. Olson, Ms. Rice, Ms. Wilson's also on the call. So if you have any questions for the middle school social emotional team, as far as your child's concerned, just put that in the chat as well, and we can get that to them. They are on the call tonight, listening and engaged and helping out parents. At this point in time, Tierra, if you could show that our video clip from the channel 4 that Ms. Seal talked about, and then we'll turn it over to Mr. Young.
We are really providing hands-on experience in our curriculum, and we want to extrapolate that into various programs.
It's an experience Chandler Park Academy District Science Coordinator Audrey Richardson is excited to share. Her school is getting national recognition for their part in the Student Space Flight Experimental Program.
They have to compare and analyze the ground experiment with the space experiment, and they have to complete a 2-page report and send it back to the National Center of Earth and Space Science Education Program.
The science experiment, tomato seed germination. Katara Waller is one of the students who participated.
Tomato seed germination is basically the experiment to see will tomatoes germinate or even begin to grow to be able to use in space. This experiment is to see if it is possible, so then astronauts and future people who want to go to space can actually grow their own vegetables.
Richardson says they work with their teachers and even contacted Google scholars who are experts in the field. So how did they do?
We did good. We won. So
Aaron Jackson says he kind of fell into STEM on accident.
it's not like we decided to. We were just doing it to do it for the grade in class. But then, as we went on, we won. So we might as well go all the way with it.
But on accident or not, Richardson says she's hoping more Black students will become involved in STEM.
For Chandler Park Academy, we are really immersing our kids into various STEM programs because oftentimes there's a science divide.
Because basically when you put your mind to it, you can go anywhere, including outer space. Larry Spruill, Local 4.
Okay, Larry, and we encourage you.
Wow, congratulations to the Chandler Park students. Give them a hands up. We definitely believe in there's in divine order. So, the opportunity for have our students be a part of that, and then to pick it right back up with Mr. Young at Ecotech. It's just only one spirit. We had no way to know that he could have presented in January, he could have presented in March, but for him to be able to present actually right when that video just was showed on Monday, our students just got presented on Monday. So this is right in line, and it's wild how things come together. So at this point in time, Mr. Keith Young of Ecotech, who got highly referred to us by our partner through Gear Up, and he's going to talk about some programs he's doing with them, as well as some of our CPA students are also involved in those programs as well. Mr. Young, thank you for coming tonight.
All right there, Mr. Williams. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I just appreciate this opportunity, man. I looked at that video and I'm saying to myself, wow, that's research right there. That's not something that you're going to do one time. That's something that you're going to do more times. We got some guys in our lab right now that's working on simulate soil for Mars, and they're trying to figure out how to grow food. And so I'm saying to myself, well, okay, this is the culture you need. Like Aaron, he said, well, we did because it was great. Then we said, we're going to go keep going. Well, you should have the touchdown in mind all the time. Like, when the teacher says, hey, here's an idea, oh, that's beyond the idea. That's an opportunity to create space for yourself. And what Ms. Richardson said around a science divide, that's true. That's really true. And I say that because I've owned laboratories laboratories in communities all around the country, right? So these are labs that have been here for a long time, and students don't always know about it. That's the divide. The divide is that they right there, and there's nobody saying, oh, I think you got this talent. Why don't you go down the street and work with Mr. Young or work with Mr. Boyd, right? I'm gonna bring up a screen because everybody on this call, specifically on the principal side, I'm gonna bring this up here. I'm gonna do a little share screen and y'all tell me, somebody know this person. Does anybody know this person? Her name is E. Barnes, and she is working on 3D printed food with Zimbabwe. She's working on 3D printed food for Zimbabwe. Does anybody know that young lady? Mr. Anderson, does she look familiar to you?
No, she doesn't, but I feel like I should know her.
These are the kind of folks that are around our community every day.
I want to know her.
Yeah, and so when I think about Kennedy lives in the neighborhood, but she's working with scientists from Zimbabwe on 3D printed food. She's ranked #1 in the state in biochemistry. You would think to yourself, we should know her by now. And so one of the behaviors, parents, that I want you to really think about is, how do we overlook the fact that these students have this talent and it goes unnoticed sometimes until somebody outside comes around and says, hey, man, y'all working on something. It's like, well, wait a minute, you've been working on something the whole time. And so one of the behaviors that I want to, really talk about, and I'm going to bring up this one slide about our lab, is that there is results in work, and then there is the mindset for how young folks start to adapt to expectations. I've owned my laboratories in Detroit for 15 years. And a lot of times what I've seen is that students have not always been, encouraged to stay with it. Like, I give Ms. Richardson and the staff at CPA big credit for even going and saying, hey, is there a competition? Is there an opportunity for them to validate their skills? All right. And so I'm going to share this screen. I'm going to share this screen. And this is just going to be a quick overview of the lab. Started the lab back in 2005. We've had hundreds of young folks come through. We normally have young folks come in as early as the 4th grade, but now they're coming in the 1st grade. On average, they stay about 8 years. Average ACT is about a 30. The average SAT is a 1450. We had one kid, he got a perfect score on the science section of the ACT. He's at Michigan State now. And we work with the United Nations. Over those 15 years, somebody would say, well, what comes out of that? My work over these last 15 years is about education economics. Why do we need to learn the pH of water? What's the economics behind that? So what you see here, these are our companies. We have 15 startup companies, one for each year, that was tied to research. And so, that's that behavior that we want to instill, that you're not just competing with, folks in other parts of the world, which you are, but you're also competing to leverage the education that's already been invested in. So here's our footprint. This is how it looks. If you look at our lab, it's connected to universities, the United Nations, startup companies, teachers, classrooms, and schools. When you have that kind of mentality of it's not just about us, but it's us connected to other people, you create space for young folks from any school to come to our lab. So they can be from homeschool, charter school, public school. They just need to be in our community. And so this is a little snapshot of some of the things that we've done over the last 30 days during the pandemic. We've had a number of students that have done research with NASA, and they continue. I think we've been working with NASA for at least a decade. And what you find and I'm gonna stop to share on this, what you find is a behavior that you build into the culture. And that culture and that behavior is high expectations. Applied science. Applied science. And what I like to do is just encourage you to say, hey, you know what? Sometimes science is presented as if it's difficult, when in fact science is good for us, because it really expects us to contribute. That's why science is like, well, that's too difficult, that's too hard, because you got to stay up and work on the experiment. That's not too hard, that's what you do. And I think you build that culture into what we're dealing with now with the virtual system. Sometimes students are like, well, the teacher just didn't tell me what to do. Well, what do you bring to the table that makes it a partnership? So a young person that comes to my labs, they don't have to be the smartest person, but they do have to be good partners. And that can be in any science topic, right? It can be studying water quality, chemistry, biofuel, whatever it takes, right? And it should be applied, which means that there should be some hands-on work that they do. Okay. And so what I want to do lastly is I want to share this video, and then I'm going to take questions. We're going to go over and we're just going to go over the questions. So let me just share this little video really quickly here. Let's see what I can do. Hold on for 1 second. Let me see if I can get the proper, you know what? I'm going to go here. Give me 1 second, gang. Let me go here. So I'm going to stop the share here. And I am going to get get this up here, make sure, you know how it is when you got 1,000 windows open at one time. All right, let me see here. So click here, I'm gonna share. All right, boom. And now I'm gonna hit the play button, y'all hold tight. This is what we're doing with Detroit PAL. This is a project that we got going on with these folks. So this is Mr. Young, Ecotech Lab, working with students from PAL Detroit. We are doing an experiment on heat transfer. Our lead scientist on this experiment right now is going to be Hunter. Hunter, please read off the steps on the experiment.
So the first step is figuring out how far we want the gummy bears from the source of heat.
Okay.
In this, we measured half of the copper plate, and half is 6.25 centimeters. So we wrote it on and wrote that down on our sheet.
Okay.
And then we have to put the whatever gummy you're using on the end.
There it is. All right, on the money, go.
I'm just going to get a stopwatch.
Okay, very good. Start the watch, MJ. Start the clock. Hunter, you're gonna have to look at the gummy bears and see what's going on if they're actually starting to melt. Use your pencil.
And they've just melted.
All right, stop the watch. Stop the watch. You said it melted.
15 seconds.
15 seconds?
Yes.
That's a huge difference.
Maybe because it's a different type of gummy.
Okay, legitimate question. What kind of gummy bears? That's a legitimate question.
And the gummy that you had could have been thicker because it was circled, and it was a kind of thick when it was circled.
Okay.
And his was more straight, but not as thick.
All right. Then that means about density too then. All right, let's write that down. 6.25, and we got 15 seconds, and we got a melt at 15 seconds. All right, Bale, run the number on this. Somebody run the number on this. This is going to be a much faster transfer rate. Run the number, Akron. 6.25 divided by 15.
0.41.
0.416. That was it. It's 0.416. Okay, so that's 0.416 centimeters per second. That was super fast. It's like this. As a scientist, we're always working the numbers, right? We're always trying to explain the science, and then we also have to have the numbers to explain what we think the science is. If I look at the transfer rate, what kind of questions could you produce about this? What kind of observations can you make? Because I think MJ had made an observation right off the bat without even having the numbers. Somebody may say copper, and that the transfer rate for copper is pretty fast. That's why we got it in all of our electrical devices. But I got some zinc right here. I got zinc. This is a totally different metal. Totally different metal. All right, let's set it up. I'm gonna set it up for zinc. I just want y'all to pay attention to the fact that I'm comparing the transfer rate of copper versus zinc. All right, here we go. Same setup. Same setup. My brain.
Start when you say start.
Yeah, hold tight, hold tight. It's the same length. It's the same length. All right, so I'm gonna set it there. I'm gonna get two of my Lifesaver gummies. Now this is zinc, this is not copper. So this tends to be a little bit different. So I'm gonna put these guys on the edge. All right. Emran, is this a legit setup?
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. All right, so I'm lighting her up. All right, this is zinc. Start the clock, MJ.
Okay.
This is zinc.
Start it. 2 seconds. 3 seconds.
All right, let me check it. Let me check it. I'm gonna use my screwdriver here. Nothing. It's still not melting yet.
We already got 24 seconds.
That's fine. Let it keep going. Okay, she out. Said 52.
Yes.
So what does that tell us about transfer rate in metals? Is the transfer rate for metals the same for all metals, or is it different?
It's different. Different.
And I share that for this reason. That's during the pandemic. That's going on in the neighborhood right now. They're doing experiments on heat transfer, the velocity of moving parts and everything else. And I'm at my lab, they got the science kits at the house and we getting it done. And for that, I give parents a lot of credit for them saying, you know what, this is what we need right now to be able to make it through this tight window so that we can see this behavior happening, right? So, you know, tonight we got to get on, and I think I got a few of them that's got to show how the spring scale can be used to measure the different forms of weight that's going to be produced when the car is dragging different things. You know, I mean, it's just a lot. And what I want parents to see is that there's some effort in it. There's definite effort. There's definite commitment to the learning. And if you can give them that ability and that resource to say, hey, look, you know what? Every Monday night, every Wednesday night, you working on these things. So now your MSTEP boot camps and everything else that you're putting in place, all that's got momentum. All that's got momentum. So those little people are now transitioned into our lab because now they know the culture, right? They don't have to be the smartest person in the world, but they have to be somebody that's willing to do that work. And I think that's the behavior of our lab over the years. So if you want to see a student and say, hey, you know, can we produce veterinarians in Detroit? Just type in Ecotech Lab and Animal Science. You'll just see them. Now, these are folks that are graduate of high schools and graduates of universities, and they're working in industry now. And so one of the things that I had to say was this when I started the lab, and this is what I would say to a parent now. You got to grow your own flowers, right? You got to fertilize it. Now you got these folks here at CPA that's saying, hey, look, we'll help you. Okay, well, let's go get it. And you start looking for that talent, right? So I might have a kid who says, well, Mr. Young, I want to be a mechanical engineer. And then I give him a project in mechanical engineering and he don't want to, or she don't want to use a Phillips screwdriver. Okay, well, maybe that's not your thing, but I'm going to look for your thing. I'm going to look for that while you in my lab. So I have a young man now, his name's Isaiah Hodges. He goes to a school in the city. And he said he wanted to be in mechanical engineering, said he wanted to do drones. So I put him on some drone projects, but I didn't see the passion. He was good at it. You know, I would send a drone home, it would be broken. I say, Isaiah, fix the drone. He would fix the drone. Come back and say, hey, Mr. Young, it's working. I say, Isaiah, you good at this. But I say, what are you passionate about? He said, well, you know, when I'm not working on the drones, I'm doing animation projects. You know, I'm doing, video games and animation and things like that. I said, well, come on down to the lab. And me and him just sat across the table from each other. And I said, I want to give you what's going to be your best work, not always the work that I assign. I said, your projects from now on are going to be animation projects. You just tell me what you need. I'm now creating a partnership, right? And so that's what you want to do with your children. It's like, well, everybody's not going to do robotics. Some folks may do robotics, but other people may want to do animal science. Some folks may want to do the drawing. Some folks may want to do the programming. I had a student, and I'm going to finish with this. Make it a partnership with your school. I had a student, he now lives in Virginia. Chris' name's Chris Anderson. I called Chris up and we talked, he'd been out of school for a while. And he said something to me when we were getting ready to hang up. He said, you know what, Mr. Young, I haven't been to the lab in over a decade, but you still called to check on me. I said, because it was a relationship. It wasn't just trying to pass out grades and give certificates. It was a relationship. And he decided to tell me, he said, well, Mr. Young, I got a 2-year-old or second grader daughter. He said, my daughter's in the second grade. Say, I'm going to send her to the lab. I said, well, now you're going to try to make me the grandpa. What's going on with that? I said, I'll let her come to the lab, but it's going to be somebody else that graduated. They probably in the 10th or 11th grade right now. They probably ain't going to college right now. But just the fact that it's partnerships. These people that we are saying don't exist, they're right under our noses. We don't have to look that far. We have to create access and opportunity, and that's what our lab has done over the years. And so I think that's where I want to leave it and take whatever questions that you might have.
Great job, Mr. Young. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your enthusiasm, your passion in this work. I'm gonna start off with the first question, then we'll look and see what the questions we have. So, is the lab still virtual now, or are you guys back at the lab? What programs are you offering as we speak right now?
Well, right now we got a couple things going on. For the guys that are in our core group, we let them come in the lab in very small groups, like, 3 to 4 students, like, not like we normally did. We 3 to 4 students, and they're working on projects. They normally come in for about an hour and a half. They usually come in and, stay as long as they want. But I say, hey, just come in for an hour and a half. We are socially distanced. We have our masks. Like Kennedy, she's doing this project on 3D printing, and she's 3D printing food. I think even what we're doing with CPA, I think there's a project on 3D printing that's going to go live next week. So we do have students that are in our core group that are coming in. For the ones that are virtual, like for families that are virtual, says, hey, look, we're not ready for this yet. Typically, I make sure that video that you saw, all of those kids have our physics in a box science kit. We got some kids in the city that are doing bioplastic. They all have our science kit, bioplastic in a box. So we have like 8 or 9 kits, that we created. And we tend to, I tend to want to do this here, Mr. Williams. We signed a partnership with the organization called the Society for Plastic Engineers. They're in 84 countries. They got about 23,000 members. I need as many young folks in this part of the world that's interested in polymer science to be involved with our lab, and they can start virtually. Like we have the science kits and we have all the content that they will need to be able to do that. And when things get better, they can come into the lab. You know what I mean? Those ones that are coming in right now, they've been in the lab for 5, 6 years. I got one that's in the 1st grade, or she started in the 1st grade. She's in the 8th grade now. She's been in the lab for 7 years, right? So we got that relationship with that family and know a lot, and they trust us and all those kind of things. But we do have some things that we need students doing research. And there's just not enough kids in this part of the world that are doing research. So an average research project for our lab is 5 to 6 years. So you got some time to grow into the work. But that's a legitimate question. We do have young folks that are coming in, but they're coming in very small numbers, and they have very dedicated work. We got this small group of guys that are doing programming for autonomous cars, like autonomous trucks and autonomous vehicles. And that project's with a company in Germany. And so we sometimes have to get together, so that we can just hammer out details. But it's still in a small group.
Okay, so I got a question from Mr. Terry. He says, how can we get our kids involved? Is there a registration process?
You know what? For families that want to get involved, first thing I would do is this: schedule a time for us to get on a Zoom call and we talk about the goals. Like my lab is really built around the whole, not just one player. You know what I'm saying? So when a kid comes in and say, hey, Mr. Young, I want to be in your lab. Well, that's saying a lot, right? Because, you come into the lab with families who committed themselves to years of investment, right? Not a 4-week, a 6-week, or 8-week exercise. And so I would say for that family or for that gentleman, you know what, you can share my email. We'll schedule a Zoom call with him and the family and everybody, and we'll talk about what the goals are and then figure out how we can fit them into it. The registration process, Mr. Williams, is really paperwork. And I'm not looking for the smartest guy, man. I'm really looking for that character. Certain things you can't see on the paper that's going to come out in the student when they have challenges or when things get difficult. That's the part you can't see in the paperwork. So I don't really focus so much on it. I do focus on having that conversation with that family and the gentleman and making that work.
Okay, great. Somebody asked Mr. Terry, it's 5 years. How old? What's the youngest age you'll take?
I met Kai Smith and family on a whim out at the Cranbrook Science Center. She was in the 1st, and I thought I was making a mistake when I pulled that trigger. I said, well, have her come in and fool around with the turtles a little bit. Let's just see how this goes. She's in the 8th grade now. So, one of the things that I would say is I'd like to see them come in the 4th grade, but if I could see a 2nd or 3rd grader, because here's how this thing's played out, Mr. Williams. It's for the parent that asked. The young lady that's in charge of working with all of my 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade students, she started in the lab when she was in the 5th. Now she's getting her master's degree at the U of M. And so we have that track record of that. If you bring in a young person that's coming into a research lab, what you want to do with that person is you want to give them the freedom to explore. And I don't try to channel them or, you too small, so you can't work on this project. You may go and just stand right next to the person that's doing a brain dissection. Just stand there and if they need you to handle some of the, clean up some of the things or help out with the dissection. I want that little person that's in the 2nd or 3rd grade. I got one, his name's Noah Harris now. He's in the 4th. He's starting the 2nd grade. Man, he's a sponge. And so I wouldn't cheat them out of the opportunity because of their age. Because I think in a laboratory, you create an opportunity where there are no right or wrong answers. It's the work that's going to give you the best answer. So I would leave it open to a young person as early as, 1st and 2nd grade. Now, if they want to try to do backflips off of the cabinets, okay, we're going to have to let you hold out for a minute. We're going to put you on the side. But if you got a little gusto with you, no, I wouldn't hold them back. And I'm gonna put this out there. When I opened my lab back in 2005, I opened it for my kids because I had made the decision that I needed to be the first investor. and all of them will come through and graduated through the lab, right? But I had to be the first investor, and I had to be the first person to say, if this is going to get done, I'm going to have to put myself in the way. So if a parent says, hey, I'm going to put myself in the way and help my first grader or my second grader, I can't really say nothing to that, because actually I was that person.
Gotcha. The kids in the video, what the virtual video, what grade was that? What grade was that?
I think that's a range of like 3rd grade through 5th grade. And, you know, I think the families that I talked to on that session, they were like, well, Mr. Young, nobody's really talked to them about calculating that acceleration. Well, that's not a reason for us not to expose them to it. I'm not saying that they got to be great at the formula, but they do need to know it exists. Like, nobody said, hey, what is the transfer rate of copper versus zinc? Well, they haven't talked about chemistry in the class. That still should be no reason for them not to know. And so those kids, you know, we had some kids, I think that one family was as far as Pinckney. They were out in Pinckney, and we had kids across the city. So, I mean, I think that's, you know, the age is something that you have to make a self-determination on, but the commitment is something that has to start early. You know, I get a lot of kids who come in, Mr. Young, I want to be, you know, an astronaut in the 11th grade. I'm not saying that you cannot be, but I'm not saying also that the work is going to be minimized for you to be. Like, you do have to do it all. And I've had kids that have come in the lab in the 10th grade and made it to Harvard, made it to MIT, work at NASA. They've come in there, but they've done the work.
So I got a parent question, Miss Crook, to kind of piggyback on what you just said. Her question was, what would you recommend for students who do not know if they're interested in these type of programs? How do we discover their passion, especially in high school?
Yeah, you know, the high school is a dicey area, because you got kids that are already, you know, they already are self-programmed themselves that, hey, this is not for me. And one thing that I have, and I'll send this to you, Mr. Williams, you can share with all the parents. One young man, he came to our lab, he was early on, and he said that what I thought wasn't for me, I had to make for me. And what that was saying was, he didn't believe that he had the capability to do this type of work. So you have to give them that exposure and say, hey, look, let the chips fall where they may. Measure it for the performance, not for the potential. So if a kid is in the 9th grade, they may be working with a 7th grader because they got started late in that area of science. But that's not to say that they should not do it. They have to humble themselves and do the work. And I'll give you a good example. About 3-4 years ago, man, I climbed Mount St. Helens, you know, to get volcanic rock. Definitely do it when you're in your 20s, okay? I'm gonna just say it that way. Do it when you're in your 20s. Because when I wanted the volcanic rock, and for that, I had to suffer 7,000 feet above sea level to get it. Now, when I brought it back, and nobody gonna take it. Everybody want to touch it, but ain't nobody taking it because I did the work. Now, I got started late climbing Mount St. Helens, but they didn't shorten the distance to the lava field fork. So I did what I had to do.
All right. So that sounds good. That's a good.
Yeah, just Google that, man. Just Google Ecotech and Mount St. Helens. You'll see us up there on the mountain.
All right. One parent asked, can that PowerPoint slide be shared with the parents?
Yeah, I'll send you the slide. I'll send you the slide. Yeah, y'all can take a look at it and have them just go out and just Google Ecotech Lab. Start with Ecotech Lab and then just type in anything that their kid might be interested in, because we've done so much. So it's not like it's something where, you know, I had one kid said, you know, he was in the 15, he was 15, he's in the 10th grade. He said, well, Mr. Young, have you done this? I said, well, how long you been living? He said, I've been 15 years old. I said, man, my lab's been open as long as you've been living. Trust me, we done tried some stuff. So, and what for the stuff that we haven't tried or the stuff that we haven't done research on, that's another reason for you to be there. That's another reason for you to walk in, because you are now creating space for yourself and for other students that come behind you. So I think, yeah, sharing those slides, pointing them to good information. Yeah, I can do that for you, Mr. Williams.
Appreciate that. Good to see Mr. Boyd on one of our community partners.
Yeah, Mr. Boyd.
Yeah, that's my man. who put us in contact with you, Mr. Young. So I want to thank Mr. Boyd publicly for making that connection. He's supposed to be presenting actually next month himself, talk about all kind of programs we got through Gear Up. So Mr. Young, is there a certain time for a kid to start? I mean, is registration in April, May, June, or every month you take kids, or?
It's just a rolling schedule. It's a rolling schedule, right? So you have some kids that, so let's say like this year, there's a lot of kids that haven't been able to get into school to get that momentum. I'm starting them out with those virtual labs. But once they get through 3 or 4 of our virtual labs, I bring them into the lab and start assigning them work, right? I started assigning them work. So I think the behavior is when you have young folks in a community that sometimes we wait to see what's going to happen, time has already passed. And so like with Kennedy is a senior. She go over to Renaissance. She's a senior right now, and she's getting ready to graduate. We have to also transition her work to someone else as she's going out. So like, I can't wait to the fall because she'll probably be at one of these universities doing her own research. So we're always making sure that we, as they say, build continuity in the research team. So that means that a kid that's coming in, you picking up with somebody who's leaving, or you picking up with somebody who's probably going to be gone in a couple years. So I always want to have a rolling window of access where we, in this case, access in my language, like what you guys are doing with the MSTEP boot camp. I think y'all got to really go for that because, who knows what the MSTEP's going to hold, but I do know that they will score it. And we just got to assume that we got to run for we just got to run for it. And it'll put a child in a better position to know that they're being prepared to stay in motion than to come to a stop. Like some kids say, well, I'm not going to do anything until the summer. By the time you get to our lab in the summer, all the spots are gone. So, I got some families that are applying and doing interviews this month. So I would say it's a rolling schedule, and we take the families as they put their name in the hat. And sometimes, it may be best that they wait because of scheduling and managing other things. But it is open all the time.
Got you. Thank you, Mr. Young. Thank you. We're winding down our time. Parents, if you get any questions for Mr. Young or the principals at this point in time, please do not hesitate to put them in the chat or the Q&A. And I will share Mr. Young's email information, the website. Again, go to Ecotech, ecotech.com. Mr. Young, am I frozen or he frozen? He's frozen. Okay, so we'll put his information and share that out with parents to make sure you guys have the information for Ecotech. So you can look into it and give him a call.
Ecotech, ecotech-us.com.
Oh, I'm sorry, US. I'm sorry, big time. I'm sorry, Ecotech.
Yeah, these guys. And we'll share that video. And I think somebody's asking about that video, Mr. Williams. They can just go to Google and just type in, I think, Detroit PAL Applied Physics. I mean, I think if they just type in Detroit PAL Applied Physics, it should come up because we did something this past summer on biodegradable materials. I think we made a biodegradable baseball and went out there to the baseball diamond and started playing baseball with it. So, I mean, they can Google this stuff. We just need to know, and I'm gonna close with this. Gravity brings us down in science, right? Everybody know gravity pulls you down to the earth. The reason why we have such challenges in urban communities for science is because of lack of access and opportunity. That's our gravity. And we got to break it. We got to break the dependency of hoping that somebody else is going to do it for us. And we have to really put our kids in a position where it's a long-term investment of their time and effort. So that's how we're going to break it. Access and opportunity. They can Google that stuff and go from there.
All right. Thank you again for your time.
Okay, man.
I know how to reach you, so we got any other questions, we'll make sure we get in touch with you. But thank you so much for coming tonight, to presenting and sharing with our parents. We have a lot of questions, good questions, and we make sure I get all your information out to all the parents who are on the call tonight and spread the word.
There it is.
There was a question in here to the principals. Is there somebody mentioned a Black History program for the month, and will parents be able to see that? That's going to be on Zoom, or how will that work?
Yes, for the high school, we are going to actually put it on YouTube, and we're going to have it streamed on Facebook. So we will definitely inform you. And Mr. Williams, I guess you can make sure all of the parents get it too. We want everyone to be able to see it, all grades.
Yes. Well, yes, so that was the question. Thank you, Ms. Richardson. One of our faithful, my committed loyal parents for the middle school. Yes, could all grades be able to see that? So I don't know if the elementary, middle school, are you guys doing Black History programs this month or no?
The elementary, we decided to do classroom projects and various activities throughout each classroom. No major program though.
Gotcha. Sounds good.
Yeah, some of our students at the middle school should be working with Mr. Thomas and the Performing Arts Department. So it's a combined program.
Oh, okay. Gotcha, Doc. Miss Seal trying to steal your glory, but no problem. It's all love. We all one, as my boss said, one great district, 3 great schools. All right. So parents, thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for your time. Thank you,
Mr. Williams.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to put something in the chat for our parent engagement committee meeting that's Monday. I just wanted to put that in the chat.
Yes. So that's what time is that, Mr. Anderson?
It's at 5:15.
5:15. So is that survey still open, Mr. Anderson, to join? That survey closed down or still out there?
The survey is closed down.
So if there are any parents at elementaries that wants to join
they can just come on to the link.
Yep, just come on to the link.
And there's a flyer there, and it's the link. The Zoom link is in the flyer.
Yep, or email me or him, and we'll get you what you need. Let me see, I got one more. Okay, good, it's in there. Mr. Anderson, just share the information. Just come onto the link. We'd be glad to have you. Love to have you. Looking forward to you. Oh, one other thing, parents, we are in open enrollment season. We just opened that up as of yesterday. Wow, time's going past. So please, you should receive a email survey that a few questions for you to fill out to get you back and re-enroll for next school year as we prepare and plan and to move forward. Time is already moving. It's already about to be already middle of February, and before you know, we'll be out of school for this school year. So we need you guys to hurry up and re-enroll so we can plan and prepare for the upcoming school year. I think that's. We parents, if you have not got the robo email or text, we are shut down again for tomorrow. We will not have live classes back. Well, we're virtual, which means we're virtual like today. So all classes will meet virtually today and Thursday. Friday is already a virtual day, and we're back full-fledged, hopefully back full-fledged on Monday again. So we're virtual, 100% virtual. Students will still have class. We won't be in the building tomorrow. That's all that means. And Friday we're virtual anyway. So once again, not in the building tomorrow, but we do have school. We're 100% virtual. Thank God all students have a device, so that's no longer an issue. If you have internet issues or device issues, please reach out to me because we have devices for all students, and we have free Wi-Fi through Comcast as well. So hopefully at this point in time, that's not an issue. But if it is, let me know, reach out to me, and I can help you in the right direction. So again, tomorrow we're 100% virtual. The school building will be closed, but school is still in session, and we're looking forward to get back into the building on Monday. But you should have got an email by now. I know I got mine. Just kind of explain that to you. But now, if you have not got it, I'm giving you the firsthand dibs, head up, straight from the source. So you'll know that tomorrow we are 100% virtual. Is Richardson got a question? Oh, okay, we good. If no other questions, thank you again for your time. Thank you for coming, everybody. If you need any more information, do not hesitate to reach out to me at williamsk@chandlerparkacademy.net. That's williamsk@chandlerparkacademy.net, or Mr. Anderson or Ms. Seal or Dr. Rencher. We're always here, always available for you guys. And again, the middle school counseling team, want to give them a shout out. They were here tonight. If you got any questions for them, if your child needs any support to help academically, social, emotionally, that's our goal, is to make this a phenomenal learning experience for you and a great journey for you as parents as well. So again, have a great night, and we'll see you in March.